Well, I'd like to welcome Zach to my podcast today. Zach Kosturos. You and I have been known each other for, I don't know, a few months now, right?
Yep, that's correct.
Will you tell my audience some things about you so they get to know who you are and what you do?
Oh, great. Yeah, my name's Zach Kosturos, and I just turned 43 here recently. I'm a husband. I've been married to my wife, Christine, since I was 21. Actually, I was 20. Long time now. And we have about to be six kids. And that's pretty much what I live for in so many ways is I love living life with them and growing together. I'm a business owner and mostly in the commercial real estate world. And like Jack said, we've known each other for a couple of months now, and it's been great to get to know him. Yeah, that's a little about me.
Zach, do you love your job?
That's a great question. Uh, the honest answer is I can't say that I love my job. I love parts of my job. But I mean, I think that's part of why I came to you in the first place was
Really?
wrestling through a few things that I didn't love so much and trying to find direction and clarity on, am I where I should be and what's next look like.
You think you're alone in having that kind of restlessness about whether you're doing the right thing or what the most fulfilling thing?
Most definitely not. I've had many conversations with many friends and colleagues throughout the years. I've been running my businesses for almost 20 years now, and I've had lots of conversations along the way with people who I think are kind of wrestling through a lot of the same questions, frictions, etc.
Now, I don't know, but I assume you're pretty successful as a businessman.
I like to think so. Yeah, I mean we've been very blessed. Things have gone really well for the most part, not without bumps and bruises along the way, but yeah, I think that we've done a great job and we've created a lot of value and we've received a lot of value in exchange.
It's so funny because, people might expect someone to call me when they're not doing well, when they're like failing and they're flailing, looking for something to do. But you've succeeded at what you set out to do.
Yeah, I think that what I've learned as I've gone through this process, which has not just been the last few months with you, but I was actually reflecting back on this last night. It's been most of my adult life because even as a kid, I wanted to be a professional baseball player, and I put every ounce of effort into achieving that goal, and I got an opportunity to play professional baseball, which I ended up actually passing on, which is a whole another long story. But the point of that story is that at every at every benchmark, at every goal that I've achieved, I kind of got to the point where I was like, well, I don't feel any different. And I think that we inherently were created in a way where I think what we desire, what we long for, whether we recognize it or not, is is purpose, is what we're here for. And so I think that oftentimes, culture tries to tell us that if we can just achieve these things and if we can just, make these things happen, then we'll feel the word you used, which is true, fulfilled, filled to the full. And I think that for those of us who have checked off many of those boxes, it becomes quite apparent not too long down that journey, down that path, that that's just not the truth.
So you engaged me to do this roadmap process. And the roadmap process is predicated on the idea that everybody was created with something unique about them.
Mm.
And most of us have lost track of what that is because we've had a lot of responsibilities and obligations. We've done what we were told to do, what we thought we should do. And so the roadmap process is the effort to uncover what that is that's natural for you. The place where you're going to be most satisfied and most successful, and then guide you as to how you could best use that. And it's pretty, I don't know if it's expensive or not, $15,000, a lot for most people anyway. Would you think you got your money's worth?
Yeah, most definitely. I think that there's some things that what we do in life that are not quantitative; they're qualitative. And I think that many times the things that are qualitative create more value than the things that are quantitative. And so, for me, when I was talking to my wife, because I've done a few of these kinds of things over the years, and I heard about you through Monish Pabrai, which and I looked at my wife and I just said, I think $15,000 for some clarity as to what I'm going to do with the rest of my life is a small price to pay. It's a small investment to make. And so that's really how I approached it. And I think that I got way more than the $15,000 worth. And so I appreciate that. And yeah, I would encourage anybody who's wrestling with some of those same things, some of those same challenges, struggles, questions, who's looking for somebody to really guide them through a process, not just put them in a group and do an online course, but really take the time, that one-on-one, even speaking to people that know you well, know me well. I don't think there's any other way that I could have gotten out of what we set out to do other than having done that with you.
Well, thank you. That's very nice of you to say. Um, if you were going to share like the one biggest takeaway for you, the thing that meant the most, do you have one?
Well, yes, I do, and it might be a different answer than maybe you would expect, but I think when it comes to this kind of work, I think that a lot of people who say they work in the space and maybe they do a great job, nothing against them, but I think that it's a spiritual journey and I think it's spiritual work. And I don't think it's something that you can just do without actually getting in the trenches with somebody. And so when I think about what was the one thing that I appreciated the most, that I think actually moved the needle the most, and I think it's that I can tell that you really care on a personal level and that you're personally invested and that you're walking alongside people like me personally, as opposed to, just coming up with an online course and I'm sure there's a place for that. But for me, it was just knowing that there was a relationship and that you really cared and that you see this as not something, it's something deeper than what's on the surface, and it is something spiritual. And I don't think you can get to the heart of what we were trying to discover unless you approach it that way, because I think inherently it's actually a spiritual journey that we're on.
Wow. When you say spiritual, do you mean religious?
No, no, I don't think it's religious at all. I think that we have a spirit, and there's a spirit to us that's deeper than what we see maybe materially on the surface. And I think that every single person um, has this longing inside of them for, like, what am I here for? Why am I here? And I don't think you can answer that question in the material.
So are you here to become a rich real estate guy?
Most definitely not. No.
Are you here to love your wife and raise your children?
Well, I think that that's a huge part of what I'm here for. I think that what I'm here for is to, the way I'd explain it, which maybe this sounds religious, but it's not meant to, is I think that I'm here to actually bear God's image. And what I mean by that is to be love. So when you say to love my wife, to love my children, yes, and to love my neighbor and including my enemy. And I think that so much of why, for me, I feel like we wrestle with some of the frictions that we do is it's very difficult to be love when our whole life is revolved, whether it's conscious or subconscious, about like ourselves and what we want. And I think much of the business and the guru culture out there is all about, what your business can do for you and what extra 100 grand will do for you, or an extra million. And it's all like, it's all me focused. And I think that the reason that's so unfulfilling, at least in my experience, is because I wasn't made for me. I was made actually to serve other people and to love people.
Hi, everybody. Hey, I've discovered that there are only two ways people try to create success for themselves in their lives. The first way is probably the most popular way, which is I'm going to find somebody who I see as successful and I'm going to try to be like them. I'm going to study their life. I'm going to eat what they eat. I'm going to read their books and I'm going to practice being like them. The only problem with trying to be somebody you're not is that it's impossible to do. And sooner or later, you just fall short or give up. You just can't do it. The second way to create success is to double down on discovering who you are. Everybody is amazingly unique and has been given a gift to live life that can be very powerful if you discover it and develop it. And that's what I do. I work with people not who want to be like somebody else, who want to figure out who they are and align their life with who they are. If that's you, give me a call. I'd be happy to talk to you and discover if you're the kind of person I can help. Thank you so much.
Those are great words. Uh, are you the real deal? I mean, is that who you are?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say that's who I'm becoming. Uh, I think through this journey, that's the biggest takeaway for me is like my eyes have been open to, like, there's a saying that says a little leaven leavens the whole lump. And so it's like when there's a little bit of me, I would say most of my adult life, my working life, my business career, 85% of the way, man, I've been in it. I've been serving. I've been trying to do a great job for people, but like there was always this last few percent that's ultimately holding on to what I want or my rights or what I deserve or whatever it might be. And I think through this process, I've come to the point where I'm like, oh, I see who I'm supposed to become. I see who I was created to become. And in order to become that last little bit is what I have to let go of. And so I would say that it's a work in progress. I don't think it's something that I ever will attain, but I think it's the journey of life.
Zach, do you feel like you have a potency in your impact on the people around you?
Yeah, most definitely.
Is it because you're smart?
No.
It's because you're loving.
Yeah.
It's go ahead. What are you going to say?
Yeah, I think sometimes the thinking you're smart gets in the way, if anything gets in the way, right? Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I think that the people who are closest to me, just as similarly to when I said that, the differentiator with working with you was I knew you cared, and I think that the people closest to me would say something similar, which is, they know I care, they know that I love them, and ultimately I want to see what's best for them.
Is that why your business has prospered?
Yeah, probably more than anything else, and probably the times that because a few minutes ago you asked me like, are you the real deal? I would say the times that it hasn't prospered or the times it hasn't gone as well as maybe it could have or should have is the times that I didn't operate in love or that I didn't operate in the way that we're talking about. And I think that's the crazy part is, we think so often that like we have to get our point across or we have to make this thing happen or we have to make sure they know where we stand and all those different things. And I would say all the times where that's what I put first didn't work out so well. And all the times that I sort of put my desires and my ambition on the back burner because I was there really to serve the people that I was helping is the times that it did the best.
You know, you seem to like know something, like know a secret about how
Hmm.
life works or know wisdom. Um, and it seems you live that wisdom. And when you do live that wisdom, life works well for you. Do you teach people this wisdom?
uh, I do now. I mean, I think that's where all this is going is not that I'll stop being in business because I won't. I think that business at its core, if it's done well, is serving other people, and so I'll keep doing that. But yeah, I definitely I want to spend more of my time, and I think that's what kind of came out of so much of our work is spending more of my time trying to help other people see the things that I've seen and live the way that I'm trying to live.
Because to what end do you want to do that?
Oh, that's a great question. That's funny you asked me that. I had this conversation last night, and this is again, this sounds religious to people, but it's not meant to. It's that to what end? I think that I went back in my about 15 years worth of my notes recently, and I kept seeing that very question I would ask myself in writing. I would say, to what end? What am I doing this for? And I could never answer the question. And at the end of the day, that's why I came to you. And through you and some other things that have been going on in my life, it's like I finally think that I have the answer. And I think that the answer is there's a way that seems right to a man that leads to destruction. And I look at the world and I think, man, we're doing all these things that seem right. They sound logical, they sound right. But if you look around, it's not working out so well. And I think, but there's a different path, and there's a path that leads to our flourishing, our prospering, our loving. And those instructions I find personally in my Bible. And I think that there's a way that God created the world, and there's a way that he ordered things. And that goes back to, it's his image, right? He stamped everything that he made with his image. And to the degree that we walk in his image and that we create in his image, then the dominion that he gave us as our mandate will look the way that it was supposed to. But I look around today and I look at the dominion that we have, and it doesn't look anything like it's supposed to. And it's because we're doing it out of the order. We're not walking in his image. And so the dominion that he's given us doesn't look the way he wants it to look, that he created it to look.
Sounds like you've got some work to do.
Yeah, most definitely.
You have a message and you see a need.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely do.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience? Because I think this has been wonderful. That you've been so open. Anything else that you think we've missed that's important?
I would just say that I think so. Since you and I last spoke, yeah, I've spent so much time thinking about this, and the way that I'm sort of couching it or coining it for the time being is it's this idea of having an undisputed purpose. I found that for me, what I realized in all this wrestling and all this work that we did was really what was at the crux or the pinnacle of my friction internally, was that I was trying to live for two purposes and I didn't know it. On one hand, I was trying to live for the service of others and God's image and love. But on the other hand, there was just this part of me that was still like holding on to what I wanted and to my goals and to my ambitions. And it's not that those things are inherently bad. They're just bad when they come at the cost of his image. They're just bad when what we do to get them sacrifices what we were created for in the first place. And so for me, like what I really want to dedicate the rest of my life to do is to help people see and understand the way that this process has helped me, is that the only way that we can, at least that I can tell, the only way we get rid of that internal friction is to understand what our undisputed purpose is and then walk in it. And that's why I think in the Bible it says like the eye has to be single and that you can't serve two masters. Because I realized like so much of the friction I was feeling was that inherently and unknowingly, it's like there were two masters at play and they were battling against each other. And the only way I'm ever going to get freedom from that internal battle is to pick one instead of the other. And so I would say that if anybody's thinking about working with you, Jack, and going through the process, I can't think of a more important and valuable thing that one could do, because like for me, I'm 43 now, right? We put this at like the, hey, when you've checked all the boxes, then you go to see Jack. And I think like we should do it the other way. I think that we should, and I'm doing this with my kids now because they're young enough where I can say, hey, first and foremost, let's understand your purpose, because your purpose informs your calling and your identity. And I think that if anybody's thinking about going through this process with you, I don't think that they could find a better thing to do and a better person to do it with. And I would just really highly recommend it.
You're wonderful. Well,
You too.
Thank you. Thanks for being on our podcast. I appreciate you very much.
Thanks for having me.